What's going on, broadcasters? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Branding Banter, where you can get all the promo nerdy news that you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA.
And I'm Meg Gerber, Director of Sales over at Performa.
Meg?
Yeah? Did you not
She
hear me?
went.
What?
She went. You're up,
And
Sarah.
I'm Sarah Goshkirian Unruh, National Sales Manager. Oh, did you hear me? Sorry, National Sales Manager at Stalls. I
Awesome.
paused right when
You're
it
not
started recording.
So I think that there must be some audio latency somewhere along the lines. But what's to be expected when you're out to sea somewhere in the middle of the islands, Sarah? Where in the
I
world
know.
is Sarah Goshgarian Unra this week?
So I'm in Jamaica, and I'll get out of the wind in a second, but I thought I'd move over here and see. So we're on the Disney fantasy boat right now. So
Oh, how fun.
we took our 16-year-old out of school for the week, and then with our 4-year-old. So Harper is having some Disney fun.
What the hell,
Good for
Meg?
you guys. Good for you.
Sorry.
I'm speechless. You know, it's
And you
like
guys are freezing cold. I know this weather right now.
So
it's
cold.
insane, the Arctic drafts that are coming down. I mean, there's. I don't. Did anybody watch? You guys both watch football, I think. Like the
Yes.
Bills game over the weekend was like covered in snow, which was awesome to see. Yeah, we're not far from there, Meg and I.
Wasn't that the Bills game?
Yeah, I think it was the Bills.
Yeah, they had like 4 feet of snow in the stadium, and people were like swimming to their.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah.
bone chilling cold here. So I'm glad that one of us is sweating and having a good time. So, all right, why don't we get to today's topic? Today we're going to talk about. I guess this is another one of the series, Meg. Right?
Yeah, how do you really grow your business? And I think today we are going to really lean into, well, we're all coming up on 2025. Obviously, we're in the same year together, but when we all go to these big shows at the start of the new year, and I feel like recruiting and new hires ramp up right around this time of year. So I thought it would be a really good time to talk about how to build your dream sales team. And we'll talk about timing, talent, and tactics in promo. So I don't know. Do you guys want to kick this off?
Yeah, sure. So I know one of the things we're going to talk about is like hiring salespeople. Obviously, is that. I mean, are you looking for people with experience in the industry? I mean, how do you go about hiring salespeople to sort of grow your sales?
So it depends. Are you on the supplier side or the distributor side? So we want to split it up.
Yeah, let's talk distributor side.
As
I want to talk distributor side first.
We need to cover both
I'm
sides.
intrigued I'm hiring right now on the supplier side of everything, which it's difficult. I will tell you, I have 2 open spots, and it's hard to find what I'm looking for.
What are those spots that you're hiring for, Sarah? It's the perfect time to talk
So
about.
territory, yeah, I know, right? So territory sales managers. So somebody on the West Coast that handles California, Nevada, Alaska, and Hawaii. California for us is a big state, obviously.
Okay.
And then the Midwest. So Midwest for us is Kansas, Missouri, Louisiana, Arkansas.
All right, so how much on-site time is there in Hawaii? Because I may or may not.
No, I was like, I might. Well, I'm not, but
Well,
Hawaii.
maybe once a year with me, right?
Well, that's the win.
It's not terrible. It's not
so
terrible. I'd take twice or 3 or 4 or 10 times, but All right, so let's talk distributor side first. Then, what are we doing to hire salespeople to sort of grow our business?
So I think, just in my personal experience, I think for the most part, distributors are looking for experienced salespeople, right? Well, you have 2 different models, right? I've seen both work very, very well depending on the culture that you have at your company. But for the most part, I feel like people that are hiring are looking for experienced sales reps with books of business. But what comes with that?
Do you think they're looking for experienced sales, or do you think they're looking for experience in our industry?
Experience in our industry with a book of business.
Okay.
Book of business. And I think everything going around with the NDAs, are they real? Are they not happening? Are they? It's like, I don't even know what the current status is on that. But I think that prompted a lot of people to want to make a move. But I think they are still holding up. So I don't know where that is. But I will say, for the most part, I've seen that when people are hiring, it's a lot easier. It's a lot. I mean, as an owner of a company, if I'm hiring a salesperson for the book of business and paying them, as a commission, that's immediately growing my business, whatever that salesperson is worth. If they have $1 million book of business and they're at a 40% GPM, I've just not doubled my business. I'm sorry. I just added on to my business. But I've also seen in my past life working with customers who would recruit kids right out of college. And then they would mentor them, teach them the ropes, and then give them the track to run on. That was their culture. And they did very, very well at that. But for the most part, I feel like distributors in our industry really like to hire salespeople with books of business. And I think on the supplier side, I think you have a little bit more leeway. I feel like you're more open to take that leap from outside of the industry because it's not as detrimental because, I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I've been doing this for so long, but I feel like I've seen people hired from outside and they've done pretty well. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up from Sarah. Nice.
I know. I was like, oh, and then there goes the emojis. So I was going to ask you, because I do think you're right. The NDA is scaring some people that I know that are looking for opportunities because they're not really quite sure what it means or if their company that they're with is going to sue them, if they do make a move. The other thing that I'm curious about is a sales rep, I guess, versus an account manager. Because in some cases, I feel like there are some distributors that are looking for good account managers, somebody who knows how to work an account, how to grow it, increase business, but maintain what they've done so far, versus it being like that they have to have a book of business. So I don't know how often that you see that, Meg, for you guys.
You're muted, Meg.
Sorry, I think my dogs are barking. I think I've seen it go. Damn it. Damn it. What was I saying now? What was the question, Sarah? Jeff, you messed me up.
It's fine. Account managers versus sales reps.
So I've seen it go both ways. You hire for the attitude, you teach the skill, right? You hire somebody that has a good attitude, that is passionate, that works hard, you can teach them the skill. Being a coach in my current line and being a coach, last 20-some years, you can't teach kids certain things, but if they show up and they're eager to play and they're eager to learn and they're coachable, I'll take them any day. I'll teach them the skill. 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds usually don't show up with a skill unless their parents are athletes, right? Not that we're dealing with 8 and 9-year-olds, but it translates into, as an adult, when you show up with the right attitude, the willingness to learn, the willingness to be collaborative, and you can be taught anything. So, and that is also a plus because then you're not jaded from all the industry drama or whatever.
I honestly think that most, because again, we're talking especially on the distributor side, but really both sides, it's a 97 or 98% small business in our industry. So I personally think that a lot more people are more interested in people that have experience in the industry, but not necessarily a book of business. Just because if you're a small business, operator and you're trying to grow your book of business, or add somebody on, a lot of times it's because you have too much more than you can handle yourself, or you could go out and get a lot more if you had somebody else to help you pick up those pieces. And in that situation, I think they're looking for somebody that has industry experience, because trying to train somebody in this industry does take a long time because there is so much to learn. And I'm in it now, I think 15, 20 years almost, and I'm still learning every day. So, having that experience is far more important than a book of business.
I would say it's important, but I think it depends if that's the right fit or if that's what you're looking for, because a lot of owners, yes, if they're hiring salespeople to take some of the weight off of their plate, absolutely. But for the most part, if you're an owner and you're small business, you're processing orders and you're doing all these things, you should be hiring some people. Maybe it's more of an account manager that you need versus the sales rep. The sales rep, you want to be able to go out, earn their own business, have a book of business, and you collect off of that. and then yeah, hey, let's shake off some of these smaller accounts, the ones that are eating up your time, and delegate. But yeah, so I think that's
Well, that
part.
brings in the whole, whole nother time. I know we've got to move on, but that brings in a whole nother conversation, because you're talking about, in our industry, a lot of people are paid straight commission, or draw versus commission. So hiring a
That was the
sales.
question I was going to ask, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult, especially again looking at it from a small business side of things. It's difficult to put that money up front. It's lovely what you're saying, Megan, the picture that you're painting as far as bringing on a salesperson that has $1 million book of business, and you instantly get to take 20% of that when you bring them on. But that's not always the case, because a lot of people, especially now the younger generation, have a difficulty of taking that leap. Prices are high, inflation's high. College debt is through the roof, higher than it's ever been. So it's difficult for somebody straight out of college or in their young careers or early careers to be able to take that jump into a straight commission job. So
yeah, it's tough. It is tough, and I think that's up to the distributor to kind of work with that person, like meet them halfway. There's so many ways to work around this. Sales rep's actually going to make more money if they're getting a bigger commission split. I can tell you right now, if they're getting paid a salary,
no, I agree. I think it's
what's there?
No, you're right. Like, it's potential. I think it's just interesting. The time, I almost feel like it's gone are the days of like commission sales reps, at least for right now. Like, that's my opinion. It's
I see a lot different on this side now that I'm on this side, but then I did just work with a new rep that was coming on, and he was like, no, absolutely, I need a salary. But we were able to get very creative with it, with health insurance and salary, and then coming out of a rebate. Like, it was like the distributor won't even see that like it won't even hurt them, because the money that they're bringing in will be taken care of off that rebate. So, but all right, let's move on from this. I know there's a lot to talk about. What about?
So what makes a great salesperson then? Is that something you wanted to talk about as well, right?
Well, I know there's specific traits, right? I think it's really important for them to be adaptable, right? Like, if you are so set in your zone and you're so jaded, like, you can't grow, you can't evolve. So I think being adaptable is super important. I think having that industry experience, or B2B, brand building, creative problem solving. When I started here at Proforma, they sent out a personality test, like a test that I had to take to make sure that I would be a good fit. I encourage everyone that is hiring and adding to their team to make sure that you give this test to everyone in your office. Then you know what your office, your distributor, whatever it is, needs, and then have the person that you're hiring also take it to make sure it's a good fit. Because you might have about an office of 10 people, and all 10 of those people are the most creative people in the world. That's fantastic. Guess what? Who's going to execute? Who's going to implement? Nothing gets done all day. There's a bunch of creative people with all these great ideas, but no one's there to implement it.
I think we should almost do an entire podcast episode on personality test, Myers-Briggs, DISC, all that good stuff. Because
all of them. Yes, I agree.
I'm a huge believer.
We should all do all of the different ones. We'll see what we all are.
And I wish more companies would actually put a little bit more emphasis on that, because it's absolutely true, especially when you're talking about the different roles that employees have within a company. If you've got somebody that's a processor, you need a certain type of personality that can take that type of job. If you're looking for somebody in sales, you typically would want somebody that's a little bit more extroverted and outgoing and those sort of things. I completely agree with you on that, Meg. Good points. All right. What about cost? Hiring versus like losing talent.
Yeah.
Super important, because it takes about 6 to 9 months of a salesperson's salary to be replaced, right? To replace them. Sorry. In the promotional products industry, turnover is a killer, especially with the client relationships. And I think it's really important to focus on the retention strategies post-hire. Is she okay?
I don't know. Something funny is going on in Jamaica.
I just had a bug crawling on me. I'm so sorry. That was like
I was like, is she okay?
Yeah, you got to deal with bugs down there. We don't have bugs.
They're all dead up here.
So,
I just don't know what it was, and then I wonder where it all was. And
who's better off now?
But that was just my face about how hard it is to
Hire somebody.
Talent and hire somebody after 6 to 9 months, because you're right, it is really expensive in order to replace that talent. So
and if they leave, right, and then you have that gap of those customers not being serviced, or maybe there's so there is a drop in business. One of the things I know I wrote about, or I was thinking about, about recruiting, right? When you're recruiting top talent, how some of the strategies that you want to do, right? Yeah. I know ASI and PPI, they both have boards. I think there's an industry Facebook group that talks about boards as well, or like job posting. I think the marketing aspect of it is when you are trying to recruit top talent, it's so important. The number one thing that I look for, the number one thing that most people, especially the younger crowd, is looking for is company culture. And I talked about it with the personality test. You don't want to end up at a company that you don't vibe with. You think it sounds good. They sold it to you. You're like, man, this is the company. Then you get in there and it's completely different because the culture, they could be micromanaging you. They could say, oh, I want you in the office every day when you thought it was going to be different. So I think it's really the company culture, and then showing that is really huge when it comes to recruiting. That's all. That was the one thing I want to say.
I think the other thing, and I'm going to add to yours, Meg, because I think it's important. Like, as I hire people, I always ask what their goals are from a career perspective. Like, I want to know, like, that they're coming. If they want to have growth, fantastic, right? But I also want to make sure that we align from a goals perspective, because if we don't, then it's not a good fit for either of us.
Good point. Very good point.
Some regional associations have job boards as well, if not all. So that's another good place to look, especially on the local level or regional level. So since we talked about retaining versus hiring, what are some of the things we can do to manage and retain our current sales staff to sort of help increase sales or keep sales, I should say?
That's a good question. You guys want to talk about it from the supplier side first?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can look at it from my own perspective. I mean, continual growth and sort of being taken care of, if you will, having that feeling of worth really goes the distance for me at least. I don't know. What about you? Because you guys have both been or are suppliers.
Oh.
I also look for growth. Like, that's important to me, and in an industry and outside industry. Like, I want to feel supported for my goals, as we talked about, and some of those happen in the industry and some happen outside. And so, like, Meg, you and your award that you had gotten, that was an out of industry type of thing. And so that to me is like show support for leadership opportunities that exist outside of ASI or PPAI. And those are things that are important to me. I think obviously getting taken care of, but alignment from a goals perspective is really, really important to me.
I think that's important to know the goals, know the company's vision, right? Like being part of that, I think, and being valued is so important. I think that one thing I learned at the Power Summit is that people leave companies because of the leadership, right? They don't leave because they got a better offer somewhere else. They probably wouldn't have been looking. They wouldn't even considered it if they were happy. You have to treat your customers, treat your employees well. You have to make sure you provide the culture that's fostering, inspiration, creativity, and the positive work environment. I think to have ongoing training is really important, because if you're not growing and if you're not pushing forward and evolving and adapting, you're going to get stuck behind, right? And I think to keep your employees trained in all the new, tools, new features, new whatever. But I think that's super important, is the training.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anybody likes to feel like they're in the dark, right? Like, if the company's growing, and I think it's important to have those transparent conversations with your employees. I think it creates just more of a buy-in, right? That they feel like they're a part of the company's growth and they understand the trajectory of the future.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I know we could probably talk about this forever, but I know we have to wrap up soon. It's actually the one thing that I will say that is really important when you hire people, aside from the training, it's really good to know where you stand, right? By having these benchmarks, maybe 30, 60, 90 day, maybe long-term analyze retention rates of new accounts to gauge customer satisfaction, industry-specific KPIs, client acquisition cost versus lifetime value of clients in the promo space. There's a lot of metrics to look at, but I think just knowing where you stand is so good. So if you're just lacking and nobody's telling you that you're doing a bad job, or hey, you could use improvement here, again, it's got to go both ways. So I think having an open line of communication and keeping those benchmarks are really good for your sales team.
Yep, I agree. All right, what about?
I agree.
Do we want to wrap with that? Maybe a success story or two from sales or hiring sales.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I know you remember CVG from Leeds?
I mean, I can give you a case study right off the bat, and I don't have a ton of inside information or anything like that, but look at what American Solutions for Business has done or turned into since they hired Dana Zezzo.
Yeah, and Taylor too. She's done.
Well, I mean, maybe Dana was a part of that. I don't know. That was the first move that I saw that really turned ASB around that corner, if you will. And it's really been uphill for them. Taylor was a great ad, and I mean, look, they were both recently in a news link as well. They were both. Mm-hmm. Taylor was promoted, and Dana's taking on an expanded role or a new role. So that's a huge case study, I think.
Yeah, you're right. What they've done.
Experience, somebody that had a book of business to some extent. Yeah. What about you guys? Any others?
The only one that I was going to say is that I know Stevie G from when he used to be over at Leeds. I didn't even realize it until I saw his name on a list, but he's over at Performa and he's killing it, like killing it. So I don't know if there was a place in between where he was before and when he came here, because I didn't even know he had left. But for someone to come on and just really do that well, like bravo, like killing it.
Yeah, I will say from a sales perspective, Tony Lametti, I think, at Ariel was actually a really good hire. I know I brought him up several times recently, but when you think about what his territory has done and turned into since they hired him, I think that's been a huge ad for them as well.
You know who else? I think Stalls. Stalls has just killed it with their recent new hires. So just
yeah, a certain.
You're so kind.
A certain Sarah.
Thank you.
Sarah Buckets.
Sarah Buckets.
No, I mean, I was going to say, I mean, Meg, you even too over at Performa, like that was a huge transition shift. So I think Performa, it's a good case study if there was a lot of talent that got brought over from the supplier side to the distributor side. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And I think they use that as a recruiting tool as well. And it's really interesting to see all the people from my past life that have given me a ring and like, Meg, we're following you. I think I mean, I don't want to say how many, but there's a very large number of reps that I've dealt with over the last year that have come over to Performa. So it really makes me happy that they, the connection was so awesome and the relationships are awesome that they're following me here. So kudos to you guys.
Sweet. All right. Well, with that, Sarah, we're not going to take up any more of your time. Go enjoy Jamaica and the rest of God's beautiful creation down there in the Caribbean. Waiting for the latency. No, yes, no. All right.
Oh, yeah. Did you want me longer? I'll stay longer with you guys. I love you guys.
No, go with your family. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
I think we should all do a vacation together.
Yeah.
I mean, let's do that. We'll work that out. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll be seeing you.